Welcome everyone to Imthatgeek.com. I'm just letting people in, and if you want to know where people are coming into, then what you guys need to do is join us in Imthatgeek.com/live. Go there right now and you can join us and speak with today's guest, Ken Okazaki. I love saying that. How's that, Ken?
Yeah, straight right on. You got it just right. Okazaki.
I love it. No, we're live. So what we're talking about today is viral video, and there's a structure for that. We're going to talk about how you can create a year full of videos in 3 days. We're going to talk about what goes into those videos so that people are wanting to watch them all the way to the end and then share them with others, which make them go viral. And you'll be surprised how not asking for the sale actually gets you the sale. So we're going to dive into all these things today. But before we do that, Ken, I want to kind of like hear a little bit about your story and your journey, because you were not born with a camera in your hand, right? And still you became that video guy. So how did that happen?
Okay, thanks for the introduction. And absolutely, we will cover all those things. I'll try to keep this really short. I run a video production company, and we're an agency, and we get people to do great performance on videos that create leads for their business. Now, how did I get here? The business I had before this, I had a multi-speaker events business where we brought some of the world's most famous speakers to Japan, and we did get many thousands of people into our events, but after a little while, I realized I didn't enjoy running events for other people as much. And I'd much rather travel the world with a camera. And the thing I did love about the events business is that I got to hang out with some of the world's best in their categories,
Yeah.
So I started this agency. I was like, how can I travel the world? I'm Japanese, so I must have my cameras and hang out with some of the most successful people in the world and get to know them on a one-on-one basis. So I created this agency around that. I decided I wanted to help the people who used to speak on my stage to actually, instead of promoting them on a physical stage, I wanted to promote them on a virtual stage, which is social media. And over the last 3 years, we've refined the process. We've gotten pretty good at it. And I'm proud to say that our clients are very profitable from what we've done for them.
So I want to kind of like let everybody know that the reason why we see you with a blue sky behind you is that because you are an event right now, right? You're not in Japan.
Yeah. So behind me, we've got one of my mastermind groups. We're on the roof of the Del Rey Marriott, and you can see there's the porch out there. I'm actually on a helipad. This is the first podcast. Have you ever done a podcast with someone on a helipad before?
Actually, I haven't.
Yes, I'm on a helipad, and I hope the helicopter doesn't land while we're doing this. I think we'll be okay, though.
I think we'll be fine. So, a lot of people are always curious, like, what's going on in behind you? So that's what's happening right now, guys. Ken is at an event. Usually you live in Japan, right?
I live in Japan. My business is headquartered in Singapore, and I have clients all over the world, mainly Australia, US, and Japan. But people from all over the world come flying in to work with me too, so that's a lot of fun, some people like that.
And you have 6 kids?
Yes. Well, you just, that's usually the bombshell that people go, wait, how old are you now?
I know, right?
Yes, I have 6 kids. My oldest is 21. My youngest is 11. And if you want to find out how old I am, you're going to have to watch this podcast all the way to the end.
And we're going to keep telling you, this is not a podcast. It's a live interview. It's a live interview show.
Sorry, it's a live interview. It's live. You're going to have to, thank you.
It's a web show. So a lot of people like to say, hey, I have a web TV show. So let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. So Japan, you grow up, you decide to start like an event business. That's not super easy, because how do you find a guest? How do you find a venue? How do you fill it up, right? What was it like at the beginning when you just started?
Well, it was hard.
Yeah.
It's a high stakes business, and there's a big investment that you got to do to get these things going. There's nothing more powerful than understanding networking with people. And I was fortunate enough to already have a relationship with some of these speakers, because I actually went to their events before, and I got their attention because I performed really well at actually helping them, drive the energy in the room forward by being a very active participant. We connected on a personal level. And so a few years ago, when I decided to start my events business, which to be perfectly clear, I've sold that business and I no longer am in the events business. But when I started it, I just had to draw on my resources, which was my personal contacts. And it all started as a result of being a product of that industry and being an event participant.
So this is really interesting because I want to dive a little bit into that. There's a mindset, right, that needs to take place to actually allow you to go through the journey that you went through. What you call assholes, right, are people who don't have that mindset. So how did you cultivate that mindset of creating this? Yeah.
So let's talk about assholes for just a minute. And especially when I was in the events business, people would come up to me and say some stuff like, "Hey, you're so lucky to have this amazing life. Do you want to share some of that with me? How'd you do it?" And I would talk to them about, the books I read, the events I went to, the contacts I have. And as I went into it, what would happen is they'd be listening politely, and then they'd latch on to one thing that, in their opinion, gave me a competitive edge that they didn't have. For example, maybe because I'm Japanese, or maybe because I knew so-and-so, or maybe because of, something that they didn't have. And they say, "Oh, wait, that's why you got where you are. It's because of that one thing, like because you knew so-and-so. So I don't know them, so that's going to be, a no-go for me. But thanks anyway." And it happened a few times that I realized this is wasting my time and it bugs me. And then it dawned on me that they actually, these guys do want the change, but they don't want to make the effort. And they keep asking questions. And this is going on subconsciously. I'm not calling them out for being assholes, but they are assholes because they ask questions not to find a solution that they're willing to action on. They ask questions about me to look for a reason why they don't have to do what I had to do to get to where I'm at.
So let's talk about that, right? Like, let's talk about what did you have to do to get to where you're, because a lot of people, we're watching Facebook, we're watching your videos, we're only seeing the end result. What was it like at the beginning when you just started?
Beginning, crickets, lots of crickets, and a lot of cold calling, knocking on doors, literally, pounding the pavement, and a lot of no's. You just got to become used to getting rejected over and over and over again until something works. And I'm going to be really transparent here. In the event business that I was in, maybe other people have had better luck than me. Some I made 7 figures. Some I lost a lot of money. And it's just a numbers game. You got to bring in a certain amount of people. You got to sell a certain amount of product, and then you got to go on to the next one. And that's another reason I left the business. It's not my favorite thing. And but if you don't set the date first, and here's how it works. You got to say, "Hey, I'm going to put on the biggest and best event of the decade." I'm in LA right now, so I might say 1 year from now in LA. And I got to start advertising it as such before I have any commitment of sold seats.
Wow.
And when you have the attitude that it's going to happen and it's going to be the event of the decade, then you'll attract the right kind of people. What's going to happen is you got to convince one famous speaker that they're going to come speak on your stage with you. And then you start advertising to all the other great speakers and say, "Hey, you've got to get on this event because so-and-so is showing up." And then once you get 2 people, and it's just, I got inspired by the Woodstock Music Festival, where that teenager got all the top music stars of the time to show up because he just got one to say yes first. And then he just told everybody else, "Hey, if you don't show up, everybody's going to miss you and you're going to miss the event of the decade." So that's how I fill up my rooms.
That's amazing. And
but you have to believe it's going to happen before you have any evidence or even money in the bank. You got to believe that it's going to happen. Otherwise, people will not believe you that it's going to happen. And go figure, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, you said?
It doesn't happen if you don't believe it's going to happen. You have to be stupid enough to believe it's going to happen without any physical evidence that it will.
Totally. And that's like, like any other business that you're doing, right? Like any other business, if you're not actually believing in it and showing people that you're passionate and you're committed, it's not going to happen. And that's what's happening to the assholes, right? They're like, "Okay, I don't think it's going to happen to me. And let me find an excuse of why it didn't happen."
Yeah, it's a scary prospect, and to be fair, they're probably smarter than me, and they probably have better statistics on numbers of why they shouldn't do it. I just block out everything that's going to discourage me from doing it and don't listen to that and decide I'm going to do it one way or another. And I don't win every time, but I win more than I lose, and that's good enough for me.
So I'm a mom as well, and I'm really curious how you're running. I know there's a lot of parents here. How are you running an international business, traveling, speaking with clients, filming them on location, and raising 6 kids?
Okay, so when I sold the events business, I had a little bit of time to reevaluate what I want to do. So I realized that I have 5 non-negotiables in my life that I wanted to build into whatever I was going to do next. And I'll run this through real quick. Number 1 is, one of the non-negotiables is cameras. I'm Japanese, I can't help it. I got to have cameras in my life. Number 2 is that I want to hang out with the world's best, the people who are influencing other people for the better, have innovative ideas and are actually doing something about it. Not theoretical professor type people. That's not my style. I like people who actually action things. Number 3, I love traveling. I wanted to continue traveling. Number 4, I wanted to build a business that had a very stable revenue model, not like the seminar business. And number 5, I wanted to have a business that I didn't have to choose work or family. I can have both. So in the video production agency I built, I literally built it to satisfy those 5 non-negotiables. I travel the world. I go to the US twice a year, Australia twice a year, Japan twice a year. And what I do is I help people and shoot 1 year's worth of footage, social media content. That's, highly targeted marketing material. I shoot that in 2 days. So my son right now, he's 21. He's between high school and college. My daughter's 17. She finished high school at 15. And she's thinking about what to do next. She might go to college, she might not. And I brought them both into the company. They travel with me, alternating one or the other. My wife is on my team too. So I literally brought my family into the business so we can grow this thing together. My younger ones, they're not traveling with me much, but I think the time will come when we can do a lot more, like, let's say playcation, where we land in an amazing spot. We spend a week together vacationing, and then I do my work. I send them home early, or they can hang out there. I'm not sure. But right now, it's the older ones who travel with me. It's great fun learning with them. And what more could I ask for, right?
I mean, it's amazing. It's really, really cool. So, we're talking about everything that you've done in your life. You achieved so much. You're very young. Can you tell me about an experience that did not work out the same way that you expected it to?
Okay, do you want me to talk about my seminar business or my current
let's do current, because we're talking video and everybody kind of like, okay, video is the best thing. Let's talk about some stuff that's not working in video.
Sure. So I think that instead of one big thing, the thing that you got to get used to is that not every video you put out there is going to be a hit. Even with all the latest technology, even with all the techniques and all the training, you have to put out a high volume of video. So when I'm talking about a failure, I'm going to say that, when I make 4 videos, I expect 2 of them to be mediocre, 1 to flop, and 1 to do great. And that's the averages I'm seeing. So when I talk about failure, when videos don't perform well, it technically is a failure. It's also, for me, just a learning point. I'm just like, okay, don't do that anymore. Let's make videos that are more like the one that did the best. So I do everything in 4s. I put out 4 videos, look for the lowest performing one, the highest performing one. I get rid of the lowest performing one and replace it with one more similar to the highest performing one. So failure is a daily process. I actually love it. On a bigger scale, that's kind of a macro scale that happens, it's just a part of the process, and it happens all the time. On a bigger scale, in my personal business right now, last year, the last quarter was actually a pretty rough quarter for us. And we had made the mistake of taking on a few very large contracts that wanted a lot of custom work done. And for 4 completely unrelated reasons, they dropped us all within the period of 2 months. Oh, wow. And, one guy was in a lawsuit. The other guy, actually, his company went bankrupt. One of them decided to take everything in-house because they worked with us for 3 years and they kind of figured they knew everything. And it was completely unrelated reasons. And I thought, holy shit, I'm getting hit with a Mack truck here that sending me a signal. Because I've read this so many times in business books. Don't, rely solely on a few big clients. You got to diversify. So it's actually probably since we last met, I've been really doubling down on our core service, which is, people who, coaches, authors, speakers, consultants, who have a high-end service that they provide to clients. And we just go after those people, and they don't pay nearly as much as big clients, but we have a really good process around it. We can process them much faster, and net, the amount of time and effort we put into, into each client has a much better ROI. And yeah, absolutely, it's something that I had to learn the hard way, even though I was warned so many times from every business book. Get, your hero product, get a whole lot of clients that build up a huge, grassroots type of financial base instead of the really juicy ones that are really sexy and you want them, but it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah, I always remind myself, Oprah said something very interesting. Life always whispers to you, right? And if you don't listen, it hits you with a brick, and then you learn. Right? So I'm like, I need to get better listening.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this a little bit. When I met you, you gave a fantastic, amazing talk about how to use this thing to create everything, all the video marketing that you need. And then you developed this system, Hilda. So before we dive into, specifically what is this, let's talk about a few things. One, how did this even come about? Like, what dawned on you? Be like, oh, let me start with a system. And then I want actually a little bit of tips on why phone, because you were telling us, if you do it yourself all the way, but there are like tricks for doing it yourself. So let's start with Hilda. How did Hilda come about?
So, in my agency, the model we do is that we do a lot of training and a lot of research into our clients' particular market. And even after we create the titles and the content plan, and we don't do scripts, we do bullet points. But even after all that, it's really daunting to have to shoot 26 videos a day for 2 days straight. That's 52 videos in 2 days. And most people say, that's crazy, I can't do that. And, sometimes when people say that, I say, look, here's the deal. I've never failed once to get 52 videos done in 2 days, and they're all going to look professional and great. I will not allow you to be my first failure. And then they kind of straight up say, oh shit, I better get my, I'm sorry, can I say that on your, your live?
Feel free.
Okay, and they're just like, oh shit, this guy's really serious. He's going to kick my butt and make sure we get it done. And, but the truth is that when you're performing at a high level for a long period of time, your brain is working way too hard and burning way too many calories on trying to figure out how to present what you're saying in a really presentable and interesting way, and all these different topics flying past, and you got to keep thinking about how am I going to make this interesting, and how am I going to make sure people stay on till the end. And after about 5 videos, you'll get completely wiped out, and you'll be gassed, and you're going to look like a total dead puppet head after 5 videos. So I was having this recurring problem where clients are getting really, really wiped out, and their videos didn't perform as well, obviously, because there's no energy there. There's no engagement. People watching are just like, this guy looks like he's got a gun to his head to say the script, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so what we need first, and I just want to back up a little bit. What's really important about video to understand is that a lot of people make the mistake of talking about what they think they're good at and what the audience is going to be interested in, recording that, uploading it to their computer, trimming the beginning and the end off. As an afterthought, they put a catchy title on it, upload it, and the last step looks like this. They fold their hands and they pray to God that somebody clicks and watches the video.
Right.
Now, that sounds like a really inefficient way to run marketing because it's hit and miss. You don't know if people are going to watch the video, if they're interested or not. So we got to backtrack, and it's what I call the hockey puck title method. You got to, first of all, like Wayne Gretzky said, a good hockey player goes where the puck is. A great hockey player goes where the puck is going to be. And to me, what that means is you got to write the titles that will get clicked first. And you got to figure out how that intersects with your niche. I've got a lot of, researchers and writers and tools to detect what's trending in your niche or in your market right now. But that's a whole nother conversation. It's pretty deep. But the title comes first. And then we've got a process where you don't have to think too much about what you're going to say. All you have to do is be able to speak for 30 seconds at a time, interestingly. And we use a process. It's called HILDA, hook, intro, lead, deliver, and ask. And I think we'll go through this in a bit more detail later. But the reason it's so important is because if you're going to be burning calories in your brain, trying to be interesting all day, every day, sorry, all day for 2 days straight, you're going to look like a drug addict, a drunk, overdosed drug addict at the end of day 2, and it's not going to look pretty. You got to have a system to, it's kind of like a cookie cutter. You know, you got to take your big idea, drop it into this mold, and then you're not thinking anymore as much. Oh, sorry, you do have to do some thinking, okay? I'm not going to lie to you.
But you just talk about it.
You can take away 80% of all the figuring out just by following this process. And that's how I came up with it, to make my clients look better. And then I decided, hey, maybe I should share this with the public because I think it could help a lot of people.
So, you know, when we met and we went through that exercise, you shared a slide that was fantastic. And I think one thing that I remember, and I'm sure you're going to, you know, throw a few out of your pocket right pretty easily, but one of them was like, Facebook is for making money and kittens, and I hate kittens. Stuff like that, right? Where you take titles like this and you grab them from, was it BuzzFeed? And then you just modify them for your own niche?
So that's talking about the hockey puck titles. I saw somebody comment below to talk about Hilda again. I will get more.
Yeah, we'll dive into this.
I will break down each step really, really well for you. And if you're interested at the end, I'm going to show you how you can get a deck of these cards. But let's talk about hockey puck titles first. The research process, and I'm going to give you as much value as I absolutely can in the amount of time we have. And so I'm going to explain this on a conceptual level because the technical part of it is just a lot of, you know, click here, click there. It's just a lot. I saw somebody wrote below that they have some copywriting experience. That's great. That's going to come in handy. But what we do is we have put triggers in place in, what that means is that we have systems that are monitoring social media, video channels, blog sites, news sites, and there's every single major outlet where people are putting out great content that they can engage in. Okay, and then we first, for example, let's say you're in the, you know, I'm not sure. Let's just say you're in the
engagement marketing. In the engagement marketing.
Okay, engagement marketing. Okay, so then we would search all the top topics that are being engaged in today. That means commented on, shared, being argued about, being retweeted, reposted, you know, whatever platform you're on. We find out what's performing the best in your niche. And then we collect these titles and then we send them off to our writing team and say, hey, could you please write a title that has the same emotional pull as this one that's at the top of its game right now, but with different words. So we change out the words. So what, you know, from a copywriting standpoint, then it's a new title, but we look for why are people clicking it? What's the emotional pull? So these titles are preloaded and ready to go. For example, engagement marketing, and I'm just thinking of this hypothetically right now, but maybe, you know, Wall Street Journal came up with an article that says something like, you know, the 12 mistakes that people make when they start trying to market based on engagement. And that might be trending right now. I don't have numbers on it, but that's a typical kind of title. And I'll send that to a writer, and then my writer will say, okay, great, how can we change this again? Change this around. So the keyword there is engagement marketing, and the emotional pull is mistakes, because we want to lead with some fear of, I don't want to make that mistake. So you might say something like, if you're considering engagement marketing, avoid these 2 common mistakes. So we've kept the keywords, we've kept the emotional pull of not wanting to make those same mistakes, but we've changed it out to a new title, which you know, in my experience, has a very, very good chance of getting clicked, getting watched, and then the rest depends on the quality of your content. I
love it. So guys, so you start with the headlines first, with the titles first, and you create 52 of them, right?
Yep. Well, when I work with my clients, we create twice as many as they're going to need. If you're doing it for yourself, just create 52. Yep.
And then we have a process that I got from beautiful Taki that you can see, and we're going to go over it right now. And before we dive into that, I just want to tell those who are not watching us right now on our show, on our website, then what you need to do if you want to talk to Ken is watch this. So head over to imthatgeek.com/live. And once we're done explaining this, we can take your personal questions. So the first card, and we're going to show you how to get them in a second, is basically Hilda, and it shows what it's on. The second card is H. And on H, we see light. That's what we see. So H is the hook. So let's talk about the hook.
Sure. So basically what I do with when I work with people is I just tell them you just got to remember one of these steps at a time. We actually many times just cut in between every single one and we edit together in post because I don't, my poor clients, I don't want them to have to memorize all this stuff all the time. So I just say, what is something you could say in approximately 3 seconds that's going to put a hole in the minds of the viewer that can only be filled by watching the video to the end? Okay, so the phrase is put a hole in their mind that can only be filled by watching the video till the end. Super important, and it's an emotional hook. So, for example, let's just play off of the title we made up about. I think if you're thinking about engagement marketing, then avoid these 2 mistakes. So I might say, the way I might do it is something like, give me 1 second because I'm just on the fly here.
I know, I love it. While you're thinking about this, I'm just going to share with people why they want to get their own deck. So on this card right here, it's basically giving you 5 hooks that you might use differently in different videos. One of them is like, what's the difference? Why Jill makes $120,000 and Bob only makes $70,000 when they have the same college degree. It's an example. People want to know why. I told you so. According to science, intelligent people have messier rooms. Now people want to know why. So there's a list here that you can get when you grab the deck, and it's free. We'll show you how to get that later. So, a hook, engagement marketing. Why would you?
So I might say something to the effect of, this is why email marketing is dying. That could be one. So anybody who's in email marketing might get triggered and say, wait a sec, what am I missing? Or something even more engaging might be something like, playing off the title, I could say these 2 mistakes actually cost me about $180,000. And that would be a true statement to me. And people are gonna be like, wow, how did he lose $80,000? And they've watched till the end where I'm going to explain in the short story how that happened.
I love it.
So there's a couple examples of a hook.
Yeah, one of the things that we should dive on at the end after the question is the title of this show should have been How I Helped a Malaysian Kid Beat Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone in a Sales Competition. And I know everybody now will know, like, how did that happen? So we'll dive into that. All right, so the second one.
Okay.
We'll leave it as a, what do you call it, as a hook, as a open loop?
Yeah. I'll be a half share. Yeah.
Hilda. So the I is introduce yourself, and it comes with this.
And now here's the funny thing. Everybody's introduced themselves a gazillion times in their lifetime, especially if you're at the stage where you want to start influencing people using video. But when the camera gets turned on, they always ask me, oh, so how should I introduce myself? As if it's, they should change it. But so I can't believe it, but I actually have to make a system around it. But it actually helped people a lot. So what it is first of all, I spend a lot of time inside of video view engagement graphs. You know those graphs that, let me see, it starts high at the top and goes down, 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 down as it goes toward the end of the video, right?
Yeah.
And I look for cliffs. Plateaus are great. That means that you're keeping people engaged, you're staying on. The line is just steady, right? But then I look for cliffs where things drop off suddenly. And I realize that many times that happens when people are talking about themselves. So my advice around introducing yourself, number one, keep it really short. And I'll give you some structure around that right now. First of all, use your first name. Don't be stuffy. Like, I'm John Oliver the Third of Greenwich, whatever, don't do that. Keep it short and friendly, because what we're trying to do is help people feel like it's a conversation. You're talking one-on-one, right? First name. And then you got 3 options after that. Number 1 is who you help. Number 2 is an accomplishment. And number 3 is your job title. And don't do all 3. That's a big mistake. So I'll give you some examples of this. For myself, I might say, hi, my name is Ken, and I'm CEO of OMG. That's the name of my company. That's option 1 that's my job title, right? Number 2 might be, hi, my name is Ken. I help coaches, speakers, authors to get their message out on video on social media. So that's who I help, right? An accomplishment, I might say something to the effect of, hi, my name is Ken, best known for being on Yufat Cohen's show.
There you go.
So those are examples of an accomplishment, job title, and who you help. Do not try to blend them together. Just go for one. If people like your content, they'll stick around. You don't need to brag about yourself in the beginning.
Love it. And then the next one is L, which is lead their anticipation. So L.
So this is the part that's probably the most of an art rather than a process. And the reason for this is that your job here is to heighten their anticipation for what you're about to deliver. So at the beginning, you hooked them. You got them to want to watch to the end because of something you're going to deliver later on. And between the hook and the deliver, you've got your introduction and you're leading their anticipation. Now, in order for the deliver to be satisfying, like, yes, I got what I came for and this person has amazing stuff to teach, you need to tell them why it's important. For example, let's play on the last example again. The two, if you're getting into influence marketing, engagement marketing,
the two mistakes.
Two mistakes. So I might say something to the effect of, look, when I scroll through my news feed on Facebook, I'm seeing that most people are making this exact mistake. And it breaks my heart that I know they're wasting money. They're leaving so much money on the table and potentially losing a lot of money. And, every time I see it, it makes me just want to, just give them a call and say, hey, you want to do this thing instead. Now, the problem is that most people aren't willing to listen. And I'm really glad you watched this video because what I'm about to show you, I can testify from my personal experience. Most people aren't doing it yet, and you're going to be able to cut them out of being a competitor to you.
I love it.
Now, I still haven't shared what I'm about to share, but I told them why it's important and why they need to listen.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Because there's so many videos, you're right, where people are just blah, 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 me, I did this, I'm so awesome. And then, 2 minutes later, they dropped, everybody disappeared. And a lot of times, many questions are, how do I not give out the entire farm, the whole enchilada, right? And that gets into D, right? There's a structure.
Deliver. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I have a little bit of a mixed feelings about this. And some people, they feel like they got to give tons of value inside of their videos. But then the question is, what does value mean? For me, a business strategy might be value, but then what's more valuable to me is Spotify and YouTube, because that makes me happy to listen to good music and watch great videos.
Yeah.
So my policy around this is you got to make them happy. You might got to make them happy that they've watched it. That's more important than giving them the secret strategy. Now, you can totally give away strategies and stuff as long as that's something that people will understand easily and that they'll feel like it was worth their 3 minutes of time. Now, when it comes to deliver, sometimes people ask me, what do I do for a living? And every now and then I'm going to answer and say I'm a drug dealer. And, after the shock wears off, I'll say, look, here's the thing. On social media and online these days, the most valuable commodity is people's time. And if someone's willing to give you 3 minutes of their time to watch a video, which today, by today's standards, is pretty expensive. You can actually quantify how expensive that is by how much you pay for ads on videos. If someone's going to give me 3 minutes of time, then you'd better deliver with a dopamine hit. That means just the feeling of being happy that they watched it. And the thing is that if you can satisfy that, they'll keep watching more and more of your videos and they'll share it around. If you don't satisfy that, there's a transaction going on. They paid you with time. You got to give them some happiness in the form of dopamine hits, right? If you don't deliver, they will not watch your videos again. You've lost a customer for life. So you got to have them walk away feeling like they learned something, or they smiled, or they shared it, or they had an aha moment. Whatever it is for you, you got to give them a dopamine hit. Then you're going to be in business for a long time as a social media drug dealer. Now, so when you deliver, think about how can you make them have an aha moment? How can you make them happy around it? And in this particular one, I might just say, I might weave it into my story. I'll go straight from leading anticipation for how I lost $180,000 or left $180,000 on the table because I didn't understand these two principles. I'll say, look, here's the thing. The principles are actually really simple. Number one, don't give and ask in the same video or same content. You got to separate the two because people will get confused by your message when they feel like they got ambushed by a sale when really they went in there just to get some value. And I'd say number two is probably another big mistake is thinking that giving away tons of techniques and strategy is the way to get great customers. It's not. In fact, people walk away feeling satiated, but they don't have the full training. Therefore, they're going to walk away not being able to really action it. So what you want to do is just give them a taste to realize the potential, and then they'll come to you for further training. So that's probably how I'd present it.
You know what I like about that? There's a lot of motivational, I mean, these are the things that go viral, right? All the motivational, the emotional sides, and a lot of people who are in business, who are selling products, don't know how to go from like, you know, today's the best day ever, think of yourself as the most, you know, successful person in the world, to buy my stuff. And what you just shared is like the easiest way to do that, right? Because you lead with anticipation, you're talking about what's going to go there, and then the delivery is giving them 1 or 2 points that make them feel like they got some knowledge, but not necessarily the strategy or the specific how to implement that. Is that right?
100%. You got it.
Awesome. And so then this is the viral part, right? A for
yes.
viral. A for viral. A for ask the right thing.
Yes. So I've actually, more specifically, I call that the altruistic ask.
Yes.
Now, the reason it's important that we say altruistic is when people share something, they don't usually do it because they feel like, well, they're not really on board with your mission to get to 1 million subscribers. That's not going to do so much. They're not really on board with, you know, with your company or your mission yet because they don't know you that well. But if you frame it up so that the reason they need to share or engage with you is an altruistic reason, it'll make a world of difference. Now, I will frame up an example for you if you like. What do you think, Yifat? Should I do an example of this, or do you think we're running out of time?
I think everybody wants an example. Let's do a 2-minute example, okay, and then jump into questions.
Okay, so again, I will go into the example we used before about the right way to do engagement marketing, and I might say something altruistic like, "Look, guys, we're in the same boat here. We get inundated with too many salesy, scammy sales messages, and my mission is to help people to be able to market themselves right. Too many people are going to take their message to the grave because they don't want to be associated with these other salesy, scammy people." Now, here's the thing. Just understanding these 2 principles is going to help people get on the right path to be able to engage with the audience better. You might feel like by sharing this video, you're just one person, but the first step to change is awareness. And if you can just share this with one person and help them, because you know they have a message in them and you know the world needs to hear it, share this with them. Do me a favor and help me make social media and the internet a less salesy, scammy place and more about sharing and actually giving real value and real happiness online. Do me a favor, share that video, and join me on my mission.
I love it. And you know what? What's nice about that is that the entire structure kind of leaves them hanging on all the way to the end, so they actually hear that ask, right? Most videos, like the sales pitch comes at the end and there's no one there to hear them.
Yes. I mean, ideally, I can't say every single person is going to stay to the end. That's kind of impossible. But the people who do stay to the end, they will engage. And I work really hard to get people to watch as long as possible. There's still going to be a slope, but I keep that slope as high as possible with everything that I know, and that's the game. It's a numbers game in some aspects. You got to get it out to enough people. That's why we get people to share it, and then you're much more likely to find the right person who's going to want to engage with you and with your business.
So guys, we're going to open it up for questions, but I want to share a few things. Right next to the video, there's a picture of how you can get your on deck for free. And that is on imthatgeek.com/live. You can go there right now and you can click that link. Ken, this one goes to your Facebook chat messages. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. So if you're logged into Facebook, my chat bot is going to walk you through the process. The card deck, it's usually sold for $25. It's free shipping and handling. We ask for $7 for that, and we'll get that sent over to you within a week.
There you go. So then our next question is going to be from Paul. Paul, can you unmute? Hey.
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can. Hey,
Paul,
how are you?
Where are you coming from?
Thanks, Yvonne. Hey, Ken. Hey, Ken, I want to know, like, I get it. I love it. I get how Hilda grabs attention and then fulfills beyond that. But I just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the sheer level of noise that's out there, and with all the clients that you're working with, how do you help them really consistently cut through all the noise?
Really good question, and I got you covered, because this is a big problem that people are having. Paul, just let me know, where are you zooming in from?
I'm in New Hampshire, in the U.S.
New Hampshire, awesome. Yeah, it looks cold. Not to make you feel bad or anything, but I'm on a helipad in LA in Delray Beach, and the weather's great.
I'm glad.
All jokes aside, and this is something I didn't cover yet because I just got a ridiculously huge amount of strategies and content around helping people perform well and helping their videos perform well, but specifically around how do you stand out. The number one problem people face is that online you're consuming so much information from other influencers, and when you get up to talk about stuff, then what's going to happen is you're going to reach into your memory, your frontal cortex, and you're going to pull out stuff that's been recently absorbed, and unconsciously you're going to start sounding like the people who you consume. Am I right?
Yeah. And
that's a big problem. Everybody starts sounding samey, and then you start getting comments like, hey, that's what Gary Vaynerchuk said, or that's what Cardone said, or that's a good Tony Robbins quote. And then you're like, dang, that's right, I did hear that from, and you don't want to be that guy. So there's a process that I call the 6 points of deep knowledge. Tell me real quick, what do you do on weekends? Just a hobby you love doing.
Geez, I'm like, usually I'm working, but if I have some time, I like to, I coach my son's soccer team. I love soccer.
Okay. So, and when you make video, if you can relate it back to something that you can talk about that lights you up without having to be scripted, then that becomes much more uniquely yours. So let's say that I'm coaching, let's say that you're helping someone in business, right? Business coaching. I'm not sure what exactly you do, but, well, why don't you tell me, what is it that you want to make videos about that's going to help people?
I'm a hypnotist and I train hypnotists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I don't know about hypnotism and I know very little about soccer, but I'm going to make a hypothetical scenario here. And you could say, look, on the weekends, when I go and coach my son and I do soccer, I just noticed that there's this mistake that happens over and over. And the poor kid doesn't know it, and I don't want to beat him up over it, but I just want to share with you how keeping your eye on the ball is actually the worst thing you can do when you're trying to get rid of stress in your life. What you need instead is to actually be open to your environment around you. And I don't know, and then you can connect that back to what you teach about hypnotism. You got to relate what's true to your life today to what you're going to teach. And when you do that, it becomes your unique content. And all of a sudden, your brain is going to get turned on. All these connections are going to start happening, and you're going to start coming up with analogies. That word just escaped me. And you're going to come up with frameworks that are uniquely yours because you tie everything back to 6 things that you love to do that you don't need any script or prompting or memorizing in order to get. It could be, for me, I use my life as a dad of 6 children. I use that a lot in what I teach. I use my traveling schedule, which is very hectic. I use my love of cameras. You know, I just love cameras, and I could talk about focusing. I could talk about, investing, in quality things. I could segue into so many different aspects, but you got to start with where your feet are planted firmly, and that's called deep knowledge, and that's uniquely yours. And in the beginning, you might have a hard time getting traction, but going forward, you're going to be confident knowing that this is uniquely yours, and your audience will recognize your content for being uniquely yours. Does that help you?
Yeah, it's great. I totally, I followed Gary V's stuff for a long time, and I finally had to stop, which is funny because he actually says that at some point, right? He says, like, I just say the same things over and over again. So if you've heard it, I'll stop listening. And I got to that point where I was like, I need to stop doing that because now I'm just becoming a parrot, right? And yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Paul, you said you had another question. Did you get all your questions answered?
Oh, I just had one other one about sort of like clarification of it. So we primarily talking about brand building, or does what you're teaching people really get down to, does it dovetail with like funnels and, that next level
100%.
of stuff? Yeah. Okay.
So one thing I'm religious about in the way I I help my clients is that I completely separate two messages. One is going to be where you're generous, you're wise, you're a likable guy, and you have a lot of value to give. Okay, and you never ask for a sale. We make a lot of content around that, and that's what attracts the right kind of people. Now, beyond that, it gets a little bit technical, but we retarget video views, and that's how the sales come. For example, when people, we have triggers set in place so that when people, we detect when people are binge watching you. What happens is, like, let's say they watch one video and it's like, hey, this is cool stuff. And they go to your profile and they look at your history and watch a bunch of other videos. Then an alert's going to come up, you know, and automatically they're going to get served a message potentially with ManyChat or maybe with another video. There's many ways you can do that. It's going to say, hey, really glad you're enjoying my videos. And I get the feeling that you and me have a lot in common. Tell me a bit about your business and let's see if I can help you. All of a sudden they feel like they've been chosen, not that they're getting chased or haunted or nagged by a marketer. You feel, because you're binge watching them, what's happening is psychologically, you are the celebrity that's beyond this LCD screen that they can't actually interact with, and they are the fan. And in that moment, if you can serve them an ad that kind of reinforces that positioning, then they are ready to do almost anything for you because they turn into a little fanboy or fangirl. And then you guide them through your process in your funnel or something like that. But try to make it feel personal, like you're personally reaching out to them. So retargeting is the key here for where the commercial side of it is. And getting these videos, getting your brand built serves two purposes. Number one, people like you more, you get more exposure. Number two, it's retargeting, right? And the way to get in front of more people, you got two ways. Number one is you work on a really emotional, powerful, altruistic ad. Number two, you pay tons of money to Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
We do a combination of both.
So thanks, Paul. This is great. The next question is from Mazi. Mazi, we're going to try to get you over your camera shy eventually, but she's asking, do you have an example for product-based businesses? Something that's actually, not info products.
Okay, give me an example of a product.
So Mazi has a beautiful store. They're selling, Mazi, you can explain better than me, but they're selling bath bombs, and actually I use her products all the time. Lip gloss, it's the best.
Product placement. Yes. Wonderful. Okay, so the products are a little bit more tricky, and I'm seeing a blue screen here. Is Mazi coming on? Or is...
Hold on, let me get back to you. That'd be fun. There.
Well, I'll just continue speaking and you could get that on when you're ready. So product placement, selling physical products is quite a different game. And the reason for this is that the kind of videos I create are about getting people to trust you because you share really great information and you're not salesy and scammy. And then they're going to want to get closer to you and work with you, right? Now, there's two ways to do products. Number one, you want to stay away from commodities because no matter how good your sales pitch is, if they can find a better price somewhere else, most likely they will. I mean, you would, right? I would probably do that. If I find the same quality at somewhere else, 9 times out of 10, I'll get the cheaper, more convenient thing. Yeah. But if you want them to buy specifically from you and you're doing e-com, is it e-commerce or is it brick and mortar?
It is an e-commerce, I believe.
Okay.
Where they also they have a store, but they're in different. They're in Whole Foods, they're in H-E-B, they're in different stores, but also online.
Okay. Now, the way you can leverage a personal brand around that is number one, you build trust around yourself, and you're the biggest educator, or you at least give the best education around the topic that your product solves the problems around. If you have, something that gets rid of acne, then you want to tell them the dangers of other products and the benefits of yours, Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that competitive edge, you'll probably find a better product, right? Whatever you're doing, you want to make a lot of videos and content that shows that your position is that you're guiding people to make the best decisions that will make their lives better. That's free. And you're not selling. You're not going to say, hey, buy my brand, buy this, buy that, buy the other. You don't do any of that because then you go into that salesy, scammy video marketer category, which you want to stay away from. You're purely educating. You're not pitching. Now, what's going to happen is in the beginning, you're not going to get sales. But when people trust you, then what's going to happen is they're going to find out what else do you do, and you're going to have a discreet link that's going to take them to your e-com shop, or when you do finally endorse something, they're going to take it really seriously. So it's a bit more of a tricky game there. But you got to brand yourself as the person who judiciously chooses what he or she promotes, and then they will trust you. You're going to be the reviewer type of person. Now, if you are the brand itself, then option 2 is you got to create an offer. What that means is, hey, get this product plus get access to my membership site where I'm going to give you 3 ways to blank, get your skin cleared up, or, get my recipe, or, my recipe book for better health or losing weight. You bundle it together. So if they buy it from you, they're getting not just a physical product, they're also getting some type of online training or digital coaching from you. Once you make it a package, then nobody can compete with you on price because it's uniquely yours. Now, this is a really big topic, but that's just a couple of ways I've helped my friends with, and it helped.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Mazi, I hope that was helpful. Charlie, do you want to unmute?
Yes. Hey, Ken, can you hear me?
Hey, Charlie, where are you coming in from?
From outside of Denver, Colorado.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Love it. Is it cold too?
It's a little chilly, but it's nice and sunny.
Love it.
Yeah.
So what you got for me?
So I'm in the CBD hemp industry, and our target market is 45 plus, primarily women. And we are getting testimonials, reviews, Facebook, Google. But when I ask them to give me a video testimonial, it's like pulling teeth. And a lot of them, I think, in that age range have that roadblock of, well, I'm taking something that's related to cannabis. So that's one part. And then the second one is like, is there, just like your Hilda format, is there maybe like a 3-step little outline I can give them to touch on to cover in their testimonial?
Yes, and your topic is a little bit tricky because it is a little bit, I can see why people would have reservation around that. And the other issue around your topic that I understand you're having some issues around is because it's the new gold rush, because of the recent legalization. It's a crowded market and it's tough to cut through. I don't have any experience in that market, but I do have a couple ideas for you about getting testimonials. Number one, don't pitch it as a testimonial. What you want to do is get on a Zoom call like this and record it and say, hey, I'd love to find out, I'd love to do a call with you. And okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. This is tell me a little bit about your relationship with your clients. Is it, do they just buy it off the shelf and that's it? Or do you mail it to them and that's it? Or do you have any type of like a subscription program? Tell me about that a little bit.
A little bit of everything, but primarily I would say, informing relationships, what makes us distinct is we will give them a one-on-one consultation up front, just to better their chances of success with the product.
Perfect. So what you want to do is when you finish the consultation, right? So then you're going to be, and I have the things anyway that maybe I'll be able to get this to you later on, pass on. But the gist of it is this. Hey guys, I really love working one-on-one with you guys, my customers. And I want to spend as much time as I can helping you find the best products, get the best deals, and also give you the training that you need. Now, in order to do this, so I can spend more time invested in you, would you be willing to get on an interview with me later on, where I can just ask you some questions about how it's going and allow me to share that with other people so that I can spend less time marketing and prospecting and less money, and then more of that helping you. And it's going to be a yes if you pitch it right.
Yeah.
Now, if you say that on your talk with them, and yes, great. Then on that same call, you get them, and you're going to say, okay, great. I'm going to send you over a link. You know what Calendly is? It's some scheduling program. Say, great. Could you click the link, see if that works? Great. Could you see where the open dates say? Great. Could you lock that in right now? Wonderful. See you then. You got your next call scheduled in for Zoom. You're going to record it. You've already gotten the call that you're on right now. That's going to be recorded. So that's going to be their legal sign off for you using that as advertising material. And you got to make sure you word it properly. I'm not sure the laws around cannabis, but, or hemp, I'm sorry. But make sure you get some legal advice around the wording to make sure that, you're legit as far as that goes, and your bases are covered. But if you pitch it that way, the reason I want you to make this is so I can help you more, get you better deals, and spend more time with my favorite customer. They'll always say yes.
Wow.
You record the Zoom call, and don't say it's a testimonial, because that's what they're scared of. Say, I just want to ask you a few questions about your experience around it. They're like, sure. Then you're going to pitch them the kind of questions that will get the kind of answers you want. You send that to your editor, or you edit it yourself, and you've got a great testimonial, probably better than what they could do if you ask them to hold up a camera and film themselves.
Absolutely.
Does that work for you?
Oh my gosh, thanks, Ken.
Sure. That's like worth, I don't know where your business is right now, but that's it's 100% authentic and true. And it's going to help you because you'll get a lot of great testimonials, and you're going to be guiding the testimonial for what you want them to say.
Right. And I'm sure everyone can apply that to their business as well. So thanks.
Yes. And client-based business, it works really well.
Fantastic question. Thanks for asking this, Charlie, and good to see you. Mia says, wow, I'm wondering who's talking there. And then it's like, Charlie, I'm watching Charlie. So Cheryl says, I'm so glad I set aside the time to watch this. Just about one of the best intellectually delightful lives I've ever been exposed to. Thanks, Ken. And we also have Leland here and Cece here. So thank you so much. The last question that we have, I think we have some more time. Arthur has a question. He asked, how would you use video to pull people into forums and communities and groups? So before you answer that, Ken, I just want to make sure, you're not talking about live videos, right? You're talking about recorded videos that you record in advance and then you're paying Zuckerberg to share online. Is that right?
Yes. Primarily, I work with recorded videos. The main reason is that I want the captions to be burned in below the video. 70% of people on Facebook will be watching your video while they're sitting on the toilet. This is statistically accurate information. So you want to talk to people as if they're on the toilet, which means if they're in a public restroom, they're going to want their speakers off. And if you don't have big captions there, you're not going to get their toilet attention, which is pretty important.
Okay, so we're creating recorded videos that you can control, and that's why this system is very helpful, because if you write it down like this, and I don't know if you can see, hold on, like this, right? So the first one is H, and it's kind of like, it gives you the title on the top.
Look, I'll send you a PDF later that you can send out to your list, and I think that they'd appreciate being able to follow along. If they watch this video again, is this going to be recorded? I don't know.
Yes.
But they can watch the recording and fill it out as we go, when I broke down the HILDA steps.
Love it. So exactly like Ken said, you're creating the titles first, then you're going through Hilda and you're creating the introduction, the lead, the delivery, then the altruistic ask, and then you're sharing it. And then Ken, you have a system that you shared with Paul. You're putting the videos on Facebook. Do you use YouTube as well to do that?
Absolutely. YouTube is great because you're going to get the caption files, instead of burned in, they're going to be overlaid. And the reason you want to do that is because you want all that SEO juice. You know, Google doesn't scan inside of Facebook's videos and vice versa. So the thing about Facebook is your video goes on and it just slowly fades away and people forget about it. YouTube, old videos get resurrected all the time because of the fact that YouTube and Google owns YouTube, therefore they will be constantly pushing traffic there from the Google search terms. So you want both. Make sure that on Facebook, the captions are burned in. That means that it's actually a part of the video itself. And on YouTube, it's overlaid, so you can turn it off and on with a little button on the bottom right corner.
I love it. So guys, if you want this deck, you can grab it at imthatgeek.com/live. The last thing that I'm going to ask you, Ken, I know you're in a mastermind, you have a way to go. There were a few tricks that you taught us to use. You're using, fancy cameras. We want to make it even though we don't own them. So you were sharing a few tips on how to use the phone to get the best video. Can you share just a few right now, and we'll end up with that.
That's really interesting you asked me, because right after this call, I'm going to go in there and teach the exact same thing inside this mastermind. So basically, let's see, how can I make this really short and interesting? Okay, number one, if you look at my eyes, I'm holding my phone. I just have an iPhone 7. It's not even a newer one. And you can see right now I'm looking at the lens and I'm looking at the screen now. I'm looking at the lens and I'm looking at the screen. Locate exactly where the lens on your phone is. You're gonna take your finger, you're gonna push it closer and closer till it covers the lens, and you know to look there. Now, I don't have such a pretty face, so it's pretty easy for me to avoid looking at myself on the screen. But I notice a lot of people make the mistake of staring at the screen, and the focal engagement is way off. So look at the lens, not the screen. That's number one. Number two, the camera itself. Hold on, I'm going to pull this cord here. And I'm going to demonstrate this live. You want to make sure you have more light in front of you. This is the light in front of me, than behind you. Now, in this case, it's actually all right. You know, it's not too bad. But you want to make sure that your face is properly lit and you're not a silhouette, okay? So you want to just kind of, if you're outdoors, just kind of go around in a circle and see where the lighting looks best. I'd say maybe this would be it for me. The reason I didn't do the podcast here, the live interview here, because I don't have a place to set it down. So that's number two, make sure that you got more light in front of you than behind you. And the third one is, watch this. When you're using a laptop, what happens is, a lot of times the angle is going to be like this. And that's what I call the nose hair zone. It's when people start seeing your nose hairs and you know you're in trouble, okay? And but more in a more serious tone, what's going to happen is that you're going to look more masculine in a sense that your jaw is going to be more pronounced and more dominant. And what happens if we go up higher is this is what I call the Instagram zone, where all the ladies hold the camera way up in the air, because what happens is it makes their eyes look bigger, their jaw looks more pointy and feminine, and they could easily take off 20 pounds without having to run a single mile. So but my favorite zone is right here, and this is exactly level to my eye. My camera the lens is exactly where my eye is and slightly tilted down, and this is what I call the eye-to-eye zone, where it's peer. When you sit across from the table at a diner with somebody, you have a conversation, you're going to be sitting eye to eye, and having this perspective helps people feel like they can build trust with you and that you're somebody who can get on their level. So that's my quick tips around camera placement. And let's get back to, this is probably the most ideal framing for me right here. I got a little bit of light from the side. The background is not blown out because there's a building there. I've got it at my eye level. This is the nose hair zone. Avoid that. It could be a little bit lower there, get more definition in your jaw. And you can do this if you want to look like an Instagrammer. Does that help you?
That's fantastic. Yes, and one of the main things that I took from your talk last time we met was, if you're gonna DIY it all the way. Don't try to pretend that you're being fancy and all that stuff. Either go full professional or for DIY. And if you do, then admit that this is what you're doing. You show up more naturally. You're more relatable, and it's totally fine. You're not trying to fake it or in any other way.
Exactly. I got inspired by Will Smith. He's got some of the biggest Hollywood budgets behind him. Yet he also makes these little skits on his iPhone. And so you got to go super pro or super DIY.
DIY.
The thing you don't want to do is be stuck in the DUI.
DUI is something totally different, right? And I'm not a drinker, so like completely, I don't know.
But I think everybody's seen one of these videos where you can tell that somebody is trying. They bought some expensive equipment. They got this white sheet in the back, and you can kind of see the wrinkles, and the lighting is a little bit weird. They're trying to be professional, but they're trying to DIY it, and you fall into what I call the uncanny valley, where you say, like, I see what he's trying to do, but it still looks a little weird. And that's the zone you really don't want to be in. Do stuff with your phone or hire a professional. If you are a professional, you can DIY that. And that's my advice around that.
Fantastic. Everybody, how was it? Just give me a thumbs up. You loving it? No more question. We're good. Ken, you can go and do your presentation. Thank you so much. Again, guys, if you want your own deck, you know where to get that. And beautiful. Well, thank you, Ken. Enjoy LA. We're here freezing in Texas.
Thanks, Ifat. Thanks, everybody. And look, if there's any other questions you have, send them to Ifat, and I'd be happy to jump on and answer a few of them in chat or something like that. I'm not sure if you have a format for that, but I'm really glad I was able to add value. Again, I do recommend, if you're going to start making videos on your own, start with a process like Hilda. Get those cards. I mean, $7 is practically nothing, guys. It'll help you get started. You don't have to memorize scripts. Just do 10 seconds at a time or so and stitch it together in post.
I love it.
Take care, guys.
And it
Thank
works,
you.
guys. Thanks so much. See you later.
All right. Bye. Gotta run.
Thank you for putting the show on.
Thank you for being here.